Hey all, everything you see here is going to be about adding markdown support in your Rails app. And the idea is going to be basically enhancing your existing form to parse HTML on the front end when you do write in markdown. On my blog, I did like a review of my blog. I think my most latest video was that, and within it someone mentioned maybe going through the markdown process and how that works. And because right now anything I write on the front end ends up being from markdown as the source, gets generated as HTML and goes back out to the front end to be something like so. Here's that post exactly. So all this stuff is markdown in the beginning and just kind of transpiles down to HTML, which is what we want. And I tend to write that way almost everywhere, so I prefer it. To do that, there are two ways, or at least two that I prefer to use. One's called Redcarpet, and it's a gem that you can use to kind of parse down that HTML that you want to pass through or markdown. And then the other is Cramdown. I don't use this one as much, but it's pretty popular. So I'm going to stick to Redcarpet since that's just the one I've used in the past and just prefer. I went ahead and created a new app. I actually have a new version of Ruby installed, so it's installing all the necessary gems at this point. It just finished. Cool. And I'm not on 2.7. I got sick of the error logs happening, so I'm on 2.6.6 of Ruby right now and Rails 6.0.2, I believe. And so we're rocking that with my new kickoff, not new, but my kickoff tailwind template just to save some time. And then I'll show you in my editor, I went ahead and installed Redcarpet as the gem there. And we should be, in theory, set at this point. Like I said, I'm on 2.6.6 version of Ruby, and here's the Rails version. So hopefully, I've been having issues for whatever reason. If I boot up the server, we can run Rails server and the app will load. It is not, though. I don't understand why. Okay, guys, so I booted up a new app. I think I had naming conflicts or weird-ass caching going on, and it's driving me insane behind the scenes, so hopefully this makes it this time around. But my ideal scenario is I've installed the new app. I'm going to open a new terminal. I'm going to run bundle, which is going to install the gem I just added to our gem file called Redcarpet. So we'll install that. Hopefully we see it there, 3.5, okay. And since I installed a gem, I'm going to reboot the server. It rebooted. That's a good sign because I couldn't even get Rails to boot initially. So let's go ahead and generate a post control, post resource at this point. I want to have something to author markdown on, so this is going to be it. So I'm going to say Rails generate post or scaffold, and we'll say post. Title is going to be string. And the body will be text. That's all we need. I'm not going to really worry about authentication or anything with this app right now. Obviously, it's just an example app, so we're just going to go with the flow. Back in our code editor, we have that all new scaffold, so we should have a views folder with posts, form, and the whole shebang. I'm going to give these a few styles just because it'll be easier to see what we're doing. Okay, and that won't look fantastic, but it won't look terrible either. So we'll roll with that. The core functionality of this gem is going to happen in a helper, so we're going to add that in a second. But first, we're going to have to migrate the app. I already know. Yeah, so if we refresh, we can run that migration here. Good, should be good. Then we'll go to posts, since that's our resource. And if you create a new one, here's our actual styled stuff. I think I should have done this. There we go. And let's see, let's set a new height on this. So like height 64 or something there. Okay, now we want to create a new post. So first post, and we could do some markdown heading 3. I'll get a little ipsum. And we'll do a list. And another paragraph, maybe. That's enough to at least verify that our stuff's working. We're going to create the post. It's not going to render the way we want simply because we don't have anything hooked up for Markdown yet. But that happens in the view. And like I said, we're going to use a helper to make that work. But first, just because I'm paranoid about how that looks on the front end, I'm going to get rid of the tables here. So bear with me real quick. You can go ahead and create the helper. So since it's called markdown, we need to call it markdown here. And we'll in that pass in the text that's going to pipe through. This will be the markdown code that we're authoring on the back end or wherever your form is at. And then we'll pipe it through this to get it to work. So in theory, I've tried this before in my blog. It's a little bit different than what I did in previous apps. And I might fail through this just to see if it works, but I'm just simply curious. So what I tend to do is create an array of options that you can pass through. The gem has quite a few to select from. If you go to the Redcarpet documentation, there's all these types of extensions you can add, but then you can also add filters that when you render, you can say what you do or don't want based on what options you pass. So those could all happen in line like this. So I'm going to pass in hard wrap, auto link, no intra emphasis, and then fenced code blocks. So the options array you can pass in with the splat identifier, and we can do that. I'm going to pass into the markdown class new, and then pass the text through with our options. And we'll say to HTML, and just for security's sake, we can say HTML safe. Now in theory, this I think should work. It might work and not. So let's go ahead and try to verify that it does. And hopefully that renders exactly like that. Cool. So that works on our index. If we were to go to the post, since this is post 1, we won't see it there. So we need to do it there too. So that's as easy as using our helper now and just saying markdown, passing that through. So there we go. Though that isn't doing the style. Okay, so it is rendering, but Tailwind resets everything. So that's one area you'd have to kind of style around. But in that case, you would probably need like a basic content class and then actually scope CSS to it so you can target those heading classes. And that's essentially it, guys. So the basic form of this is going in through and passing any options you prefer when it comes to rendering a new markdown. This technically renders from Redcarpet. So if you see it on the docs, it's like this. You can use it just like this and it'll still pick it up. I prefer this, it's cleaner. And then you pass in your text and then you just go ahead and make sure it's to HTML and then HTML safe on the front. So it does go ahead and parse it as HTML on your front end. And then you're in business. So any time you want to enter a new post, if you can type, unlike myself, and still post.new. We could say second post. Let's do some code fence stuff. So like maybe Ruby f hello world. Now we don't have any like syntax highlighter on the front end, but this will still render as pre-formatted code. And then we could just, go to town in terms of markdown. So we've got copy we can add. Not there though. Cool. And then maybe like a block quote of some type. And I don't know, another heading. And then your number, maybe a number list, you could do that. So 1, 2, 3. Could do the same with like italic or bold text. Just do like webcrunch.com. All right, let's create this. I'm going to copy it just for safety's sake. There we go. We have stuff here. That is a link. You just can't tell until you source it. There we go. Yeah, so that's essentially it, guys. I hope that was helpful. That's all there is to pretty much mine on this end. Again, there's quite a few options you could pass or disable for the sake of security on your own stuff. Like if you don't want any links to generate any tags or styles to be embedded, etc., or just safe links only. Kind of cool. But yeah, definitely check out the documentation. You can even add your own, which is neat. It gets pretty in depth if you want it to, or it can be super simple like mine is. So I hope that was useful. There'll be probably more short ones like this. I just wanted to get some cool features that you might see in my apps or other Rails apps that you find, well, how do you implement that and what's the best way to go about it today? And maybe there's other better versions than what I do, but this is what works for me. So until next time, I will see you guys later. All right. Thanks for watching. Hello Rails is my new course on Ruby on Rails. I'll teach you Ruby on Rails from the ground up. Visit hellorails.io for more information.